Hello dear students, how are you? We will start our first accounting standard today, and that is of IS 16 PPE. You already studied this standard in your previous studies, and this is the most studied accounting standard in the whole ACCA syllabus. So you are very familiar with that standard. If we start from this standard, first of all we should look into what is the definition of PPE. Do keep in mind that this paper is not about calculation, this paper is not about numerical world, this paper is all about discussion, theoretical discussion. You need to discuss the accounting issues, accounting principles, accounting convention, accounting standard, accountant framework, accounting principle with your strategic team members. Do keep in mind that you are at strategic level. Now you have the team members, which are basically the strategic partners. The strategic team partners includes production strategy member, includes HR strategic member, includes IT strategic member, includes procurement, every function. So you need to communicate them what are the main accounting issues, what are the main accounting principles. So only if you are familiar with the basics of the accounting framework, accounting standard, then you will be able to communicate easily to them. Okay, number one. Number two, now you are the senior most at finance department. So different accounting bodies, different auditing firms are basically communicating with you, are linked with you. So there is no room to make a mistake now. You basically make your decision at your own. So in order to be at ease with everybody, every accounting body, every auditing firm and every auditing body, you need to be aware what type of accounting issue you are facing and what is the solution. Just keep in mind that IT has resolved our numerical and calculative and accounting issues a lot. Now you have a lot of accounting software which automatically credit the entry which you debited, which you will input in the debit side, and that input side entry will automatically be transferred to trial balance, will automatically transfer to SOFP, in the balance sheet, in the SOFP, in the profit and loss, everywhere. So basically now the role of accountant is critical thinking, and that critical thinking is that if you are facing with certain challenges in your daily routine life, then how you will basically face those challenges. So don't worry, just stick to your basis and we will keep on, and I will tell you how to basically make your concept, how to pass this paper, how to write the structured answer. The major reason for the failure of the students in this paper is basically this paper is 80 to 85 marks of theory, and 12 to 15 marks are available only for calculation. So anybody who focuses on writing the structured answer in theoretical detail, he will be able to pass this exam very easily. Now in this whole syllabus I will guide you how to basically devise your answer, structured answer. Let's start. If we started definition, then IS 16 defines property, plant, and equipment as tangible items that are used in the production, supply of goods or services, rentals or administration purpose, and they have the life of more than 1 year. So what is the basically main points we get from here? Number one, that IS 16 tangible items, and they are used in production, business, supply of services, admin, plus they have a life of more than 1 year. Just keep in mind that any tangible item, very important point which I am telling you now, any tangible item which increases the merchandise of the business. Merchandise means sales or the profits or the benefit of the business of more than 1 year is basically eligible to qualify for IAS 16. Tangible items which are expected to be used in business for less than 1 year fall under IAS 2. Now there is a difference between IAS 2 and IAS 16. IAS 2 includes those items which are used in the business but they have a life of less than 1 year. IAS 16 includes those tangible assets which are used in the business but they have a life of more than 1 year. So if we conclude, inventory consists of two items. One is saleable items and other consumables. Saleable items are meant to be for selling purpose in ordinary course of action. For example, we purchase raw material in ordinary course of action for selling purpose. This raw material basically is a part of inventory. Consumable includes those items which are used in the business with less than 5 years, less than 1 year. For example, in order to produce this raw material, these finished goods from raw material, you need a basically regular spare part or tool to be attached with your machine. And that tool is a part of your running expenditure. So during the year, you bought 10 tools and by the year end, out of 10, 6 were used and 4 were unused. Now, the 4 which were unused will be a part of inventory and 6 which were used a part of cost of sales expense out. So inventory contains both of them. And third one is tangible items which are used for rental purpose. Capital appreciation falls under IAS 40. Now what I am trying to basically communicate you that the difference between these three standards. Which three standards? IAS 16, IAS 20 and IAS 40. IAS 40 includes those assets, those properties which are meant to be for rental purpose and capital appreciation. If any asset has no usage, it will be considered as a part of investment property. Simple. If any asset which is basically used as a which is not currently being assigned any purpose will be considered as a part of investment property. For example, I'll give you an example. If a company has two pieces of land, real estate company, assume that it is real estate company, two pieces of land on which office building will be built, then this land will be treated under IAS 60. It has one piece of land for which no purpose has yet been decided. So this land will be considered as IAS 40. We have two buildings which is basically rent out to customers. These are also be considered as a part of IAS 40. Then we have 5 buildings that are for selling purpose in normal course. it will be a part of IS2 inventory. So this is the difference between these three standards. I'll give you another example so you can understand it better. A showroom has one car provided to director. Now director is a part of the business. Any asset provided to him will be considered as a part of the business and it will be treated as IS16. So any accommodation building provided to him will be a part of IS16. Any car provided to him will be considered as a part of IS16. And this has a life of 5 years. Now this will be depreciated over 5 years life. One car is provided to another sales team member. This is also be considered as a part of 16. Let's say it has a replaceable life of 3 years, which means that this will be depreciated over 3 years. One car is vintage. Now if we assume that the business is selling new car, then what is the purpose of vintage car in the showroom? No purpose. Investment purpose. Why you have a vintage car? Because for investment purpose. So this will be considered, this may be considered as a part of IS40. Now if you have one car for demonstration purpose, and that will be replaced after 18 months. Now can you tell me that without demonstration vehicle, can any customer buy a car from you? No. He will basically take a test drive on demonstration vehicle, then they will decide. So demonstration purpose vehicle is basically a part of the ISB business, and it will increase the merchandise, and anything which I told you increase the merchandise of the business is considered to be a part of IS16, and it will be depreciated over 18 months. And remaining 6 cars, let's say, are normal selling cars. These cars are for IS2. They will be in IS2. So if I summarize what I told you up to now, that there are 3 standards which I basically discussed. These 3 standards deals with tangible items. 2, 3. If tangible items are used in the business and they have a life of greater than 1 year, then IS16 will be applicable. If they are used in the business and they have a life of less than 1 year, then it will be a part of IS2, like consumables. And IS2 also includes saleable inventory. Number 3, IS40. Tangible items which are basically held for capital appreciation, rentals, or no purpose has yet been decided. Okay, I think now it is being clear to you that the difference between these 3 standards. One more example. If you have a building and you rent out this building to customer. Customer is not to be a part of the business. The part of the business are only management and employees. Business main purpose is to serve the customer with the goods or services. Business main purpose is not to rent out its building to customers. So basically, if we are renting out our building to customer, this is our separate business. So this will be considered under IS40. This property will be considered as IS40. But similarly, if I discuss that building rent out to employee, even at market value of rent, we are basically charging our employees the rent which is basically equals to the market value. The main thing here is that we will not look what we are charging. We basically look here to whom we have basically rent out our building. Employees, and employees are the part of the business, so anything basically given to them will be considered as a part of IS 16. This is a 5 marks question, and it was basically given in the previous exam paper, in the past paper, one of the past papers. So employees, it doesn't make any difference if you take below market value rent, no rent, or equals to market value of rent. The main thing here is that to whom we have let out our building, and that is the basically clear cut that we let out our building to employees. So if we you have already studied your text paper. In that text paper we calculate the benefit, and benefit, the contribution by employee is deducted from it. So if the benefit is 40 and employee is contributing 40, then benefit would be nil. That is a taxation issue, that is not an accounting issue. Okay, for accounting purpose we will consider this building as a part of IS 16. Next difference which I want to clear now is that IS 16 and IS 41. Basically for that purpose, first of all I will decide what are basically biological asset. Biological assets are living animals or plant. What is IS 41? IS 41 is agriculture. Now what is agriculture? Agriculture is management and transformation of biological asset. So if you have the business of management and transformation of biological asset, only then that biological asset will fall under IS 41. Take an example. If you have a watchdog, guard dog for your office security. Now here we are not breeding or managing the dog. The main purpose of dog here is to secure the office building. Now the cost of the dog will be treated as IS 16 PPE. But if we have dogs in dog center, now dog center is basically managing and transforming the dogs. In that case, those dogs or puppies will be considered as a part of IS 41. So do keep in mind that living animals, all living animals are not part of IS 41. Their purpose will decide that to which standard they will fall. Now here the dog, one dog is of IS 16, the other dog is of IS 41. Which decided this? The purpose of their work decided. Okay. Similarly, if you have some farms, farms will fall under IS 41, but any land or tangible items used to develop the farm will fall under IS 16, which are basically used in the development of farm will be under IS 16. Similarly, if we have some seed development at engineering university or engineering research lab, now seed is not a biological asset. Seed will be cropped in the fields, and then those fields and farms will be considered as a part of biological asset. Seed development is basically a development expenditure, and it will be treated under IS 38. Why I am giving you so much examples? The only reason is because exam includes all these examples. Basically you consider it that I am basically having 15 years of experience in this field, so I have in mind that what kind of the paper, what kind of example we had in the previous past papers. So all these examples are very necessary. So conclude this, all agricultural assets and biological assets fall under IS 41, all mineral rights and reserves fall under IFRS 6. Now I think you are clear the difference between different accounting standards. Why you have to make this difference clear? Because now you are at strategic level. Take an example. If you are basically a new recruitee in an accounting firm, then you will not be allowed to conduct an audit independently. You will be under some senior. Senior will guide you how this asset will be treated. This asset will fall under IS 40 or 16 or 2. You will just do an accounting according to that. But now you consider that you are the senior most. Now you will decide. How you will decide? You will decide by your reference to your experience and the knowledge you get from your papers. Okay. Examples of PP include staff canteen, because staff are part of the business. Any building provided to them is basically part of supply of goods and services. Showrooms necessary for the merchandise, factory area, cars for director, land, only land. If only land is given, it will be considered as a part of IS 16, but if land has no purpose, then we will consider it as a part of IS 40. Building rent out to employees. I just told you that the building rent out to employees will be considered as a part of IS 16. To customer, it will be considered as a part of IS 40. Land and building of admin. Tractors to develop an agricultural asset, anything which is basically used to develop biological asset or intangible will be considered as a part of IS 16. Machines in developing the technology, tools and spare parts. Model areas. What is meant by model areas? Model areas is basically you have been assigned some space in the superstore from which you can sell your product. For example, your product is let's say you are selling some sandwiches. Let's say I am just giving you an example, and that superstore has just allotted you a space. Now you have to develop that space in order to sell those sandwiches. What you will develop, you will basically install there some fixtures and fittings, some racks over there. Now the expenditure on those racks and expenditures on those fixtures and fittings will be considered as a part of IS 16 PPE. Do keep in mind, we are basically not capitalizing the whole store over here. We are just capitalizing the expenditure we incurred only. What we incurred? We basically incurred just the development of that area. Okay, those costs basically, if say we have a license to use that space for 2 years, now for that 2 years we will use those racks, we will use those fixture and fittings. So any expenditure on them will be capitalized and will be depreciated over 2 years. Similarly, if we take another example, these are basically structural changes in the building. You rent out some building, you take a rented building and basically you need to make some structural changes in it so that it will be available for your office use. So in order to get the building into your desired purpose, the expenditure you incurred on that rented building will be considered as a part of IS 16. For example, if you take some building, you made a false ceiling, you had expenditure on false ceiling or some racks or some expenditure on fixtures and fittings, those expenditures will be capitalized and will be depreciated over the life. Okay. Next, recognition criteria. Tangible items as a physical substance. Initial recognition, an item of property, plant and equipment should be recognized when it is probable that asset future economic benefits will flow. And number 2, the cost of access can be measured reliably. These 2 criteria must be met in order to get the asset capitalized in the S2FP. The first one is probability of inflows, and the other one is that cost of the asset can be measured reliably. One thing you must keep in mind, that any asset we bought has a cost, 100 million, let's say. Now, what is the probability of inflow? Basically, why we bought that asset? Because we want to recover its cost. We have the 2 modes of recovery. One is the value in use and other is NRV. What is value in use? Value in use, if we keep on using this asset, what value will we get? And NRV is if we sell it, what value we will get. Suppose you bought a machinery on 1st of January 2020, but due to COVID you are unable to use it, and you are not sure at what time in the future you will use it, so that value in use is not calculatable. So does this mean that this asset will not be capitalized in the balance sheet? No, because this asset's recovery can be made through NRV. Tell me, just tell me, if an asset is not in use, in your business use, you can recover your cost by selling it. Selling option is available to you. So we can say, even if it is not being used in the business, we can recover its cost by selling it. These are the two modes. So we will capitalize the cost of the machine. Next, measurement. Property, plant, equipment should initially be measured at its cost according to IS 16. Now, what is cost? Cost includes purchase price. Purchase price. Costs that are directly attributable to bring the asset into necessary condition. Any expenditure which is necessary to bring the asset into current workable condition will be considered as a part of cost. For example, if we discuss the non-refundable tax, it will be a part of cost, because this will not be refunded by the tax collection body. But if at the date of purchase we paid a tax which is refundable, then we will not consider it as a part of tax. Part of cost. Similarly, you paid some import tariffs. That will also be part of the cost, because without paying import tariffs, can you bring the asset into workable condition? No. In order to bring the asset into workable condition, you need to pay freight. You need to pay transportation charges. You need to pay installation charges. So every expenditure which is necessary to bring the asset into workable condition is basically a part of cost. Then the estimated cost of dismantling and removing the asset. This is called decommissioning cost, or for example, decommissioning cost or dismantling cost, it will be capitalized in cost at present value. What entry we will make? Debit asset, credit, provision for dismantling. And these both entries will be at present value. So cost of asset includes the present value of dismantling. And at year end, why I am writing all these things? Because this is the main writing you need to write in exam. Here calculations are not necessary. You need to basically write the accounting treatment in theory. At year end, depreciation will be charged plus unwinding of discount will also be charged. What is unwinding of discount? How you will calculate it? Opening provision which you made here multiplied by cost of capital. Now what is the double entry of unwinding of discount? We will treat it as finance cost. You already studied that. We will further study this when we will look up at IGES 37, credit provision for dismantling. Next, IAS 16 says that following costs should never be capitalized. Administration and general overheads, these costs must not be capitalized, okay, because they are not directly attributable to that asset. Abnormal cost, I am writing over there. Normal loss, they are capitalized. Abnormal losses are not capitalized. Then cost incurred after the asset is physically ready for use, that expenditure is basically running expenditure, then that will not be capitalized. The only expenditure which will be capitalized is before the asset is ready for use. Then cost incurred in the initial operating period, such as initial operating losses and any further costs, they will not be capitalized. Do keep in mind, basically some sort of the asset are of nature that they will produce some losses in the opening years, okay, but those losses are part of revenue expenditure, they will not be capitalized, they will not be a part of cost. Next, cost of opening a new facility, introducing a new product and conducting business in new location, very very important. For example, you are having a plant and you have basically decided to sell this plant, and the money which you get from the selling this plant will be invested in some other plant. Now the cost of that new plant will not be considered as a part of your cost, okay. Basically, take an example. We bought a plant on 1st of January 2011. We decided that after 5 years we will replace it and with a new plant, and at 1st of January 2011, can we capitalize the cost of that new plant that will be replaced after, that will be bought after 5 years? No, okay. Similarly, cost of relocating and cost, these are all future costs. One thing you should keep in mind, these are all future costs, and future costs are not capitalized. Subsequent treatment. IAS 16 allows a choice between cost model. Cost model, what is cost model? Under the cost model, PPE held at cost less any accumulated depreciation and impairment loss. Cost less accumulated depreciation less any impairment loss, if any. Under cost model, PPE will be initially recognized at cost and will be depreciated annually from the date of use. From which date we will start the depreciation? We will start the depreciation from the date of use. One thing you must keep in mind, if an asset is not in use, conduct an impairment test in accordance with IAS 36. There may be no depreciation will be charged because depreciation links with the usage. For example, if you bought an asset on 1st of January 2020, but asset is not being in the use because of the COVID, because of the closure of the industry. So on 31st of December 2020, no depreciation will be charged, but at year end you will conduct an impairment test, because when there is no depreciation of the asset, you must conduct an impairment test, because there is a chance of wear and tear if it is not in the use. This is what I write over here. If there is a significant duration between the date of purchase and date of usage, if you, this is basically what I told you in the example. then asset will be tested for the impairment under IAS 36. Okay. Difference between depreciation and impairment. I think you must know the difference. Depreciation is basically a systematic allocation of the cost over the useful life of the asset. It is not an actual fall in value. It is basically a simple allocation of cost over the useful life of asset. Whereas impairment is the actual fall in value of the asset. And it is not a systematic allocation. Depreciation starts when the asset is ready for use. Impairment depends when we basically conduct an impairment. Answer. When we basically conduct an impairment, what will be your answer? Number 1. When asset is not in use. Number 2. When there is an event. If there occurs some event like damage, like accident, or there are some assets on which we have to conduct the impairment test annually, like goodwill. Goodwill is basically tested for impairment annually. Dismantling costs will be capitalized, yes, in the SOFP. Components of depreciation, very important thing. How we will calculate depreciation? Cost, valuation, useful life, and residual value. These are the basically called the components of depreciation. Change in any above component will change the depreciation charge. Okay, this is very important thing. Any change in these component will change the depreciation charge and will be dealt under IAS 8. This is called change in estimate, accounting estimate. So whenever there is a change in cost, valuation, life, residual value, these are basically the estimates, and this will be considered under IAS 8, which tells us that change in estimate are dealt prospectively, are dealt on the prospective basis. That is, change will be implemented from current year. It has nothing to do with the previous year. Change in policy is dealt retrospectively, and it will be adjusted in the previous years as well. So these three are the basically estimates, and which standards tell us this is what we have to basically write in the exam, that we know the concept. Every accounting treatment is due to some concept. We must know what is the accounting principle behind any accounting treatment. This thing we know basically from our first paper, like financial F3 level, but I think at SBR level you basically must write in the exam why depreciation charge basically changes It is basically discussed under IS 8, and that standard tells us that if there is any change in accounting in estimates, then you must revise your depreciation expense, and that expense must be treated prospectively. And the new depreciation expense will be revised valuation minus revised residual value divided by remaining life. For example, if I give you an example over here, on 1st of January 2011, you bought an asset costing 100 million, is having life of 10 years and a residual value of 10 million. At year end, it has a fair value of 120 million and it's at a revised residual value of 15 million. So what will be the depreciation expense for 2012? Now, first of all, we must understand what is the basically value at December 2011. It was net book value of cost 100 million and depreciation 10. No. 100 minus 10 divided by 10. It's 9 because of scrap value. So 91 is net book value. And what is the fair value at that date? It's 120. So we have 29 million of revaluation. Next year, depreciation will be charged on 120 because now cost is replaced by new value, that is the fair value, minus what is the revised residual value? 15, remaining life 9 years. Now remaining life is 9 years, okay, because now depreciation will not be charged over 10 years because 1 year has already been passed. So depreciation for the 2012 will now be based on 9 years. These components must be assessed annually for any change. Residual value must be linked with market condition. This is very important thing. Okay, one thing I should clear you now. You already knew it. What is the difference between residual value and scrap value? Residual value is the value of asset after useful life. This is the value of asset after scrap value is the value of asset after economic life. Now there may be a difference between economic life and useful life. Basically, useful life is the life over which cost is allocated, but economic life is the life over which asset is used. For example, if we had a car with a useful life of 5 years, but it will be used for further 20 years as well. So its economic life is 20-25 years, but its useful life is just 5 years. So this is the difference between residual value and scrap value. Now, both of these values are not similar. For depreciation purpose, what value we deduct from cost? It is residual value less divided by life. Now, residual value must be assessed annually for any change. Annually. And you know, management has a chance to manipulate its financial results by diminishing some of the depreciation charge by overstating the residual value. Because if you overstate your residual value, depreciation charge will become lower. So one thing you must keep in mind, that residual value must be linked with the market. It must not be linked with some assumptions, some bases, some models. No, it must be linked up directly with the market. And in very rare cases, it might happen that residual value may exceed the carrying value of asset. In that case, depreciation would become zero. So one thing you must keep in mind, depreciation is never be in negative figure. So this means that cost becomes 10, or valuation becomes 10, and residual value becomes 12. Now depreciation will be 0. Okay. So depreciation is not in negative, it will be reduced to 0. Next model is revaluation model. We will start it.